You're listening to Change Your POV Podcast, episode 100.
Because there's a different dynamic when you have a small group of people, and some people have strengths where the others have weaknesses, and they kind of play off of each other and they help build each other up, kind of that iron sharpens iron thing. You'll get that in a small group setting. But also one-on-one is just really nice because they're very honest when you're sharing something where you feel that you need help.
Welcome to Change Your POV Podcast, helping you navigate transitions in your life, like entering and exiting college or the military, changing jobs or careers, and providing you with the coaching and mentorship needed to help you advance in your personal or professional life. Sometimes all you need is to change your point of view. Now, here's your host, Eddie Lazary.
Welcome to Change Your POV Podcast. I am your host, Eddie Lazary, and today we have the pleasure of sitting down for the second time, I'll explain that in a minute, with Dana Rossignol. Now, Dana is just an incredible person. She's an NCC PT personal trainer. She's a certified weight management specialist and instructor, and a Girls on the Run running coach, which I definitely want to ask some questions about that, and a medical assistant. And she's got a website over at danarwellness.com where she offers all kinds of great stuff for people that are looking for personal training needs, both in person and virtual online training. So welcome to the show, Dana. How are you doing?
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm doing well tonight. And you?
I'm doing fantastic. And I say again to the listener out there, because this is actually our second go around, because I, in my non-infinite technological experience with this new software, I deleted our conversation 10 minutes into our last interview. So I do want to say thank you very much for coming back on the show and sharing your story with the listener. I do appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure.
Before we get into any questions, a huge shout out to this week's sponsor, Audible.com. Audible has over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. There's sure to be something that interests you. Search through all kinds of genres like fiction, nonfiction, education, self-help, comedy, short story, novels. Oh, the list goes on and on. With an hour commute to and from work every day, I use this time to get caught up on all my books that I don't have time to read. I listen to them. Right now, I am currently reading the book. Well, I say reading. I'm listening to a book called Living with a Seal. It's a true story about a very successful New York businessman that hires an actual Navy SEAL to move into his apartment for 30 days and basically give him a whole new perspective on life. And that's exactly what he does. It's an incredible book. It's very funny. If you've never read it or listened to it, I highly recommend that you do. It's called Living with a SEAL. What are you reading or listening to right now, Dana?
I'm reading Failing Forward. It's one of John C. Maxwell's books, and I love his stuff. So it's a great, great book.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love John's stuff. He's just got great content. I didn't know this before, but he's authored more books on leadership than anyone else out there in like ever. It's amazing.
Yeah, his content is fantastic, and it's just the way he delivers it. It makes you want to pick up another one as soon as it's done. So yeah, I could believe that.
So tell us a little bit. I know we covered your bio a little bit, but tell us a little bit about you, kind of your background, where you're from, what you've got going on these days.
Well, I'm a mom of three. I have three boys, so they range in age from, let's see here, this month I've got two of them turned birthdays or had birthdays. So 20, 18, and a 5-year-old, because we're a little nutty that way. We had a 20-year baby instead of a cruise. So my husband and I have been married for 25 years, and this is something that I just have a passion for it. I've watched people around me have weight loss surgeries instead of kind of tackling some of the core issues, and so I've witnessed that stuff, and it really made me kind of dive into it a little bit deeper. I love anatomy and physiology, all of that kind of, the mechanics of the body and everything, and just the other side of it, kind of that emotional support. So it seemed like a natural progression. I used to work in the medical community, and it seemed like a natural progression to go into not the pill side of it, but rather the impactful, what you do every day, the choices you make every day. So becoming an instructor, actually, Chalene Johnson was a huge motivating factor for me in my own weight loss journey. Lost 50 pounds at age 29. And so I love the Turbo Kick format. So that's my first step into it, was to become an instructor. And from there, it just kind of tumbled on into personal training and more formats and wellness coaching and all of this other stuff, just trying to help anybody I can,
Yeah, so real quick, talk to me about the certification and becoming a trainer. Like, what's all involved with that?
Well, it really, you have some people who will have a degree, and there are others. I have an NCCPT certified. I'm a certified personal trainer. So that's basically, you study a lot of anatomy and physiology, and how the body moves and how food impacts you in different forms of progression plans, and how to put that together for different populations. And for me, it went well. I felt comfortable getting the certification. It takes a few months. You have to study. There's a book, and everything like that. And there's a hand-on applied or a visual applied test, I guess you'd call it. But it seemed like a good choice for me because I already had the medical background. I already had nutrition courses in college. I already had, all of these other options. So the personal trainer cert was a lot of fun. It just opened up so much one-on-one. You really learn about the people that you're working with, and you learn what their weaknesses are and their strengths are, and then you can build programs around those, and it really helps to increase their potential for success. So utilizing that with the weight management specialist, it's a beautiful marriage of two certifications to kind of come together and help everybody I can.
Mm-hmm. So you work with people individually. Do you do just individual work, or do you do group work, or how does that all come together?
Well, I teach Group X as well. So I'll teach large groups of people, and I'll do the workout with them. I also do small group training. So there's sometimes you're more comfortable working out with a buddy, or even 3 other buddies that are all kind of on the same wellness path, the same wellness journey. So that's kind of nice because there's a different dynamic when you have a small group of people, and some people have strengths where the others have weaknesses, and they kind of play off of each other and they help build each other up, kind of that iron sharpens iron thing. You'll get that in a small group setting, but also one-on-one is just really nice because people they're very honest when you're sharing something where you feel that you need help, like weight loss or time management or anything like that. They'll be very, very honest, and they'll kind of lay themselves bare on the areas that they're really struggling with. So you just have a different flavor every type of training you do, even virtual. It's all a different flavor. So it's really cool to be able to utilize all those different options, and online.
So aside from actual physical changes that you see in your clients, describe for the listener some of the emotional changes that you witness your clients go throughout their journey.
Well, there's always a root cause. There's always a reason why people kind of get to the point that they're at. And there's also that kind of that bottom out moment where they realize I need help. So those reasons can be any one of a number of things. It can be their own, kind of have that self-doubt, that self-hate talk. Maybe it's something that they learned by example, seeing something in their youth, maybe when they're being brought up, or something that another person is kind of laid on them. But for whatever the reason, a lot of times people have like these little insecurities and these little stumbling blocks that you have to really work through. So you watch people break down the root cause, why they make excuses and why they say I can't, and why they say I'm a failure at this or that. And you help them kind of rebuild their foundation and their kind of faith in themselves. And that's a really cool thing. So it's not just changing the body. It's not just that process. There's so much more that goes into it. You have to kind of help change the person as well. And they do that themselves. They just need somebody who gives them a guide, a hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And last week on episode 97, I had the opportunity to interview the podcast Answer Man, very own Mr. Cliff Ravenscraft, where he shared with Bennett and I his personal story of weight loss and health and fitness. And with him, he literally was at the point where he was facing a life or death surgery that he would have to endure. And he finally he got to the point, like, he knew he was overweight. He was overweight most of his entire adult life. And he dropped some weight and he gained it, dropped some weight and he gained it. But it wasn't until he kind of experienced this life-changing, life-altering, point in his life that he just knew that there needed to be a change, a significant change, or he may not be in this world anymore. So do you see that with people that are finally, like, what is it that clicks? I know it's a very general question and it's hard to generalize and answer, but like, what clicks in people's heads for them to finally be properly motivated enough to make like the actual life-lasting, changes that are necessary to live a longer life?
Everyone's different. They all have unique challenges, and they all come from a unique place. However, for most of them, they run out of excuses. And maybe it's that shock. Maybe there's that pivotal health scare that brings them around, or maybe it's just waking up one day with the realization that it doesn't get better unless I change it. But they run out of excuses of why they can't. And when you're young, you can make a lot of those excuses, but there comes a point where your body just can't sustain it anymore. And that becomes very expensive in a lot of ways. It might be expensive in the loss of life, or it might be financially expensive. There are people, I've had clients that have gotten to a point where they can't afford it anymore. And, the medications and everything like that. And they say, okay, it's enough. I've got to change. And that's what I'm here for. And the people like me, that's what we're here for, is for that moment when they have that aha moment and they go back to their why. Why do I want to change it? Why do I want to make a difference in my own life? And many times it's their kids, or it's that health scare, or it's finances. They're looking at a life of medications, but it's different for everyone. But for everyone, they run out of excuses.
Now, do you think it's necessary for everyone that's facing this to get to their breaking point, to get to that stopping, point in their life? I mean, why we're human beings, and as diverse as we all are, we're all very similar in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah.
So do you think it's necessary to actually get to that point where you've basically run out of all choices, all excuses, all options before you actually make a change? Or, can we be as successful if we choose to do something before we get to that point?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's when I say that somebody had to get to a point where they ran out of excuses, that's one of those, that's the extreme. Those are those people that had to have something really big happen in their lives to be able to say, this is my time for change, and this is where I'm going to put myself first. And we all come to that point in our life, at different phases, and some of us ignore it and some of us jump on it. So it can happen at any time. It's just a moment where you say, it might even be a job change forces you into kind of looking at things a different way, or a change in relationship status. Any one of those big life changes can also kind of lead you into, hey, I'm going to prioritize this now because I'm making all of these other changes, or I feel like things are a little out of control, so I'm going to control this because I can control me. But whether or not someone's ready to do it and give up those excuses, that's personal, that's individual. And whether they wait to the last minute or not, that's really individual.
So are those, I mean, as a trainer, working with individuals, is that something that you know ahead of time prior to working with, let's say, a new client? Or is that something you kind of work at trying to figure out or happen upon throughout the process?
What part? Whether or not they're ready for the change?
Yeah, their personal why, right? They all everyone has their own like personal, some may come to you straight up with their why and say, here's what I'm facing, here's what I'm dealing with, this is why I need to make this change in my life. Other people, they know that deep down inside, but they are kind of they're scared to face it, so they keep it inside, and they still come to you because they want help in that area. So in terms of your effectiveness as a coach, is it easier? I would assume, I don't know, have never done that, but I mean, I would assume that it would be a little bit easier as a coach to tackle those demons if you are aware of them ahead of time. And then if not, how do you try to figure out how to peel back the onion, so to speak?
Good question. When people come to me, traditionally, they will come with just a number in mind. And that number means that they're in the pair of jeans that they want to be in, or they're looking a certain way that they want to look. So they usually come to me and they want a number, whether it's to get ready for something or it's just that number they have. And when we go through that process, a lot of times I'll also find out also what their support system is, or if they have no support system. And then we kind of look a little bit deeper and we find the why together. So rarely does someone come to me with that why unless they've had that health scare. When they've had that health scare, then yes, they know, my kids, I want to be around for my kids, or something like that. Or I don't want to be on the path that my dad was on, who just had a heart attack, or something like that. They, many times they're just coming to me with a number or a wedding that they have to get ready for, or something like that. And we have to kind of, like you said, peel back the layers and find out why, kind of their foundation, what motivates them, but also what has driven them downward. So yeah, it usually takes a little bit of work. It usually takes the first 2 sessions of really kind of sitting down together and going over things to find out why they're there.
Right. And Bennett and I, we've talked a lot about this thing we call limiting excuses or limiting beliefs. It's the stories we tell ourselves for the reasons why we can't accomplish the things we know we should, right? We know we should get up early and go and work out, and we know we should eat right, and we know all these things, but yet we don't do any of them, and we tell ourselves all of these little stories, right? We are the most, I don't know about you, but I can convince myself of anything, right? And I tell myself these stories, and I believe every last story I tell myself. And some of my biggest, limiting excuses range everything from, it's always, I'm a procrastinator, so I'll do it later, or I don't have enough time, or but I've got this going on instead, and this is more important right now, and I'll even fabricate, priorities ahead of things that I know I should be doing, and as an excuse not to do them. So what are some of the common limiting excuses or limiting beliefs that you see amongst your clients?
The fear of failure is a huge one. They don't want anyone to know what they're trying to do because they have this enormous fear of failure, and a lot of them will give up before they fail, not really seeing that as being the same thing. If they have an injury or a diagnosis, a lot of times they'll utilize those as kind of their excuses. I can't do that because I have this. Or their age, that's a big one. Oh my goodness, their age. I'm too old to be able to do that. So those limiting ideas are always there. They're always those excuses and those hurdles that they have to get over. And procrastination is a big one. My son calls it future Brad and past Brad, where he says, past Brad decides this is a job for future Brad. And then future Brad says, well, past Brad's, kind of a jerk because he laid this on me and I have no time for this. So it's kind of making sure that I break down all of their excuses. Because age is seriously, that's no longer an excuse. I just ran Reach the Beach. So, I can use a lot of excuses, but mostly if I didn't do it, it was a fear of failure and people seeing me stop or quit.
While I'm at work, oftentimes I'll go out into the gym at lunch and I'll go to the gym to change, but I'll go outside and run. And a lot of the folks that I work with, they'll see me, getting ready to head out, and they'll say, well, where are you going? And I'll say, well, I'm going to go for a run. And I would have to say 9 out of 10 responses that I get to that is the same. And it's always, oh, well, have fun with that. I'm too old for that. I'm too old to run.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm looking at, and these people are like, early mid 50s, and but yet they're too old to run. I just don't understand how. Okay, I guess I never got the memo. Like, what's the age where we stop running because we're too old to run? Right?
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. One of the people in my van for Reach the Beach, one of the guys in my van, Bob, great guy. Guy's 61. He was kicking my butt too. And I run a pretty good pace. I was running, 8:30s, maybe a little bit less, 8:19s for my pace. This guy's kicking my rear and he's 61. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that kind of, everybody's different, but that's just that self-limiting talk. It really is.
That's right. Absolutely. In your experience, why do so many people struggle with their weight? Is it lack of education? Is it the lack of being brought up properly? Is it convenience? Is it because I hear so many things, right? Oh, it costs too much to eat healthy. And I hear all kinds of reasons. So why do you think so many people struggle with their weight?
It's lack of direction. They don't know where to start. They don't know how to do it. In setting the example of how they were raised and everything like that. I grew up in an unhealthy home. I had no idea what it meant to worry about my portion sizes or eating healthy or eating clean or anything like that. A lot of times they just didn't have the example, and they don't have any kind of plan on how to get there. And that's very daunting. So it's easier to give up. It's easier to just, go with the easy, quick food. And those prepared foods, those processed foods that are packed with junk, they're easy things to fix. There's not much to them. You grab the box or the dollar menu at McDonald's. That's quick. You drive right through. It takes work, and you have to have some idea of where to start. And a lot of people just give up before they even begin.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think, technology is great, and Dr. Google that you can go out and search for anything is awesome. But sometimes it gets to a point where there's so much information. If you don't know what you're doing and you're looking to try to figure out how, like you said, where to start, it's not the easiest thing in the world to know exactly, where to start and what direction you're heading. So what do you recommend for those that know they need to make a change in their life? They are fed up with their weight, the way they look, the way they feel. They know they need help. There's too much information out there. What do they do?
I always say to seek someone that you trust, whether it's a trainer or a wellness coach or a specialist, and talk to them. Have someone help you, guide you. They can help you figure out what formats you might be drawn to, the things that aren't going to feel like work, that you're actually going to turn and have a passion for and establish habits. They'll help you to integrate it into your life as it is. And they can even help you with stepping stones to make it a lifestyle change. But to be able to do that, you can sit on the computer all day long and just get overwhelmed. Everyone's different. Information's always evolving and changing. have someone there. It's so much easier to just have someone there. They give you a hand, they lift you out of the hole, and they help you get your feet back on the right path. So a trainer, if you're at a gym, if you're not, there's so many people you can look for. I just recommend that you find someone who has a nationally recognized certification. Really important that they kind of have that continuing education going and that they know what they're talking about.
Those are some good points. Great advice for people that are looking to start out. Now, what about people that perhaps have already entered into, maybe they got a gym membership and maybe the gym doesn't offer free trainers or anything like that. They go to the gym and they see all these machines and they're doing the what I call the monkey see, monkey do, because they don't really understand what they're you know what I'm saying. They're not really entirely sure how these machines work, so they're going through the motions. But they want to do something. Is even going to the gym necessary? I mean, what can people do that are just starting out that maybe don't have somebody like you just mentioned, somebody that they can trust, a trainer or anything like that? Like, how do they find them, and what do they do in the meantime while they actually make that connection?
Every gym, if someone is at a gym, if they're presently at a gym, they should end up getting an orientation over all that equipment. That should be in every gym that you join. If it isn't, go join a new gym, because you shouldn't ever be just set off on your own to utilize that equipment. And it's very intimidating for women especially. Well, actually, I have to think it's intimidating for guys, because don't you have like this built-in idea that you should know how to use it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you're a guy. So if they're not giving you that orientation, find another gym. Maybe just speak to someone at the front desk. You should have an orientation over that, and then kind of give you that baseline idea of where you should be with your weights and your settings. But I can give you, what about 10 quick start tips?
Sure.
Okay, here are 10 tips that I usually give people who are just getting started and they're really overwhelmed. They're pretty much free. So this is something you can do. Number one is soda. Either phase it out, delete it, whatever you've got to do, just get rid of it, because it's just poison. So soda. Sleep is number two. You need to be getting at least 7 hours of sleep. It really messes with your hormones and your balance. There are hormones that manage your hunger, but also that feeling of being full. You want to make sure that you sleep enough so that those aren't out of whack. Water. Wake up in the morning, the first thing you do before you drink that diuretic of coffee, full glass of water. Before every snack, before every meal, full glass of water. Really important. Your alcohol intake, and listen, I'm a girl who likes to have a margarita. I like to have a drink every now and then, but just kind of pull it back a little bit. You don't need 2 drinks. You can have 1 drink. You can make it last, take little sips. I don't care. Just kind of pull it back a little bit, because the liver prioritizes metabolizing the alcohol first. And that's not what you want if you're working on this journey. So kind of pull back on your alcohol, just moderation. Protein with every meal, a lean protein with every meal. Let's see, how about those evening snacks? If you are a person who gets those evening cravings, and I do, I could sit down with like a box of dry cereal and just go to town. One thing that I do and I recommend is have a cup of tea. Before you have that snack, have a cup of tea. The tea will probably help you work your way through that craving and keep you from, going overboard in the evening. People think that cardio is the only thing to use to lose weight. You must do cardio. It isn't. You need to strength train. You need to, even if it's body weight training, with push-ups and pull-ups, things that you can do in your own home, lunges, you can use gallons of milk as weights. You can use anything for weights. You can use a toddler and do lunges and squats. But you want that lean muscle mass. You want to build that lean muscle mass. And women, we will not bulk up because we don't have the testosterone to do that. But that lean muscle mass is your resting metabolism booster. So your body has to consume more calories for that muscle. It consumes far more than fat does. Tracking your portions is number 8. So make sure that you track your portions so you know what's going in and you're aware of that. And there are so many apps you can use. MyFitnessPal is a quick and easy one. There's even like a barcode scanner in it. So that can be on your smartphone. If you've got a smartphone, you can have that app, you know, I mean, you're already paying for the phone, so why not grab the app? And an accountability buddy is a big one. If you can't afford a trainer, have a buddy. And you guys make a deal. We're going to go out walking. We're going to download the Couch to 5K app on our phone, and we're going to use that. Anything like that, something where you guys kind of lift each other up and get each other motivated. And also, you know, we were talking about podcasts and things like that and personal development. That's really important because you need to kind of feed the whole body. And your way of thinking plays out in every choice you make during the day, everything you prioritize during the day. So something that you feel, you know, kind of feeds that side of you, whether it's faith-based or, you know, motivational in another area, you know, get that audiobook, listen to it in the car on your way to work or something like that. Or if you like to turn pages, go buy a book and get your personal development on. So those are some things that you can do, anyone can do just starting out. And you can have a pretty radical change just with those even.
That's like, I really like that. So to recap what Dana is saying here, the 10 tips she recommends is number 1 is to cut out soda. That is just straight liquid sugar, basically.
Oh, and yeah, in Monster, those sweet-based drinks, you don't need them.
Yep, and it totally messes with your insulin levels and
all
of that, right? Number 2, I'm learning. I'm telling you, I've been doing all kinds of learning here. Yeah. Number 2, sleep. Get at least 7 hours, and not just because you feel rested, but I'm learning that that's when your body actually, you know, repairs itself and it eats the fat and does all the things that you want it to do. So you can do all the great work during the day, but if you don't get enough sleep, then your body's not able to actually burn away the fat that you're trying to lose.
It's homeostasis. It's the body in balance, and sleep is a major component in that.
That's right. And water. Drink enough water. And I was just listening to a podcast on the way home, and I'll mention that in a minute, but the podcast episode was talking about hydration, and he recommends that you drink half your body weight in ounces. So if you weigh 200 pounds, you need to be drinking 100 ounces of water a day, minimum. And so I did the math, and that means that I would have to drink like, I think it was like 70 ounces of water a day. It doesn't sound like a lot, but I got a bottle, like a rather good sized bottle, and I looked at the number of ounces, and I'm like, damn, I need to drink 3. I like 3 of these a day, and I thought back on my day today, and I asked myself, did I drink 3 of those today? And the answer was no. So it doesn't seem like a lot, and it isn't, but we're not even doing the minimum, right?
It's just getting in the habit too.
Yes.
You know, if you kind of associate that big glass of water with every meal and snack, then you can clear quite a bit of that water during your day.
And then alcohol. Well, not only that, but you know, you're increasing which is number 5, increased protein intake, and your body it requires more water in your body to digest protein than non-protein.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Way to go, Eddie.
Yeah, see, I'm telling you, I'm going to be like a doctor at this stuff by the time I'm done
with it. You totally could.
Number 4 is reduce alcohol, right? We're not saying, I mean, we all have our thing we do, right? But, you know, I'm not a big alcohol drinker, never have been, but I'm a big coffee drinker. So I will take your recommendation and drink the water before I have the coffee. That's a good one.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but limit your alcohol intake. And then, of course, number 5, we already mentioned it, but protein with every meal. As a matter of fact, this morning, I'm not a very big, like, breakfast person. I never really have been, but I know that it's a big part in my journey. And so I made myself a smoothie this morning. I took a blender and I took some, the frozen berry mix that you buy in the frozen food section. It's got strawberries, blackberries, blueberries, just whatever berries. So I put that in the blender, and then instead of milk, I used almond milk.
Yeah.
And then I put 2 scoops of whey protein in there, powder.
Perfect.
And blended it up, and that actually gave me, that yielded about 3 mason jars worth of smoothies. So I put 2 of them in the fridge. I brought one with me, and I drank it on my way to work.
Nice.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's good stuff. Number 7, strength training. Yes, your body actually burns more fat by maintaining your lean muscle mass than it does through cardio. I'm learning that cardio, you'll burn about 45 minutes to an hour, maybe an hour and a half, depending on how strenuous the exercise was after your workout. So your body is going to be burning fat after your cardio, but only limited, like a couple hours at the most. But with strength training, you can actually be burning fat off of a really good strength workout for, upwards of a day after your workout.
Yeah, because your body's also repairing too.
Right.
So it's you just want to boost that resting metabolism.
Mm-hmm. Tracking your portions. Now, I have the MyFitnessPal tracker on my phone as well. I use it because it's got a little GPS feature on there, and I can track my walks and my jogs or whatever, which is
nice.
Yeah, which is helpful. I like that. But I have not used it to track the food portions. I'm gonna have to give that a try. That's pretty cool.
I think that's funny. It's probably the primary use for most people is tracking their food, and you're using it as kind of your pedometer.
Yeah.
Your step tracker. That's cool.
And then, because I'm eating paleo, I'm not as concerned about the portion sizes because, I'm eating some really good sized meals, but it's fruits, vegetables, and meat, and that's it. There's nothing else. So
you're good. Yeah.
I've eaten more since I've started this than I was before, and I've lost 30 pounds already, and it just keeps coming off.
Nice. So, well, you're eating usable
right.
Fuel, so you're using things that your body can put right to work,
yes.
And that's really important, and it's not throwing your body out of balance either.
Right. And number 9, accountability partner. I cannot stress that one enough. I have Bennett, of course, as my accountability partner. And folks, he lives in Syracuse, New York. I live in New Hampshire. Okay. So, that whole, I don't know anybody that lives close to me or in my neighborhood. That's all BS. You can have an accountability partner and you can make it work. We talk on the phone every day. We shoot, videos on Facebook to one another about our progress, things that we're struggling with, things when, successes that we've had that day, questions that we have for each other. It's really just about sharing the journey with somebody and allowing them the latitude to be able to ask the question, hey, did you work out today? Hey, did you fit, what'd you eat today? Like, tell me, break it down. No bullshit. Let's go. You know what I mean? That's all it really takes. It does not rocket science. If you have a buddy that you can go run with, that's even better, but you don't need it.
You don't need it. And there are running groups. I mean, you can find somebody for everything, but you want that core person that you're going to be real honest with. Right.
Yes, that's right. And number 10, personal development. And boy, I can't stress that one enough. I mean, there's a lot to be said for, teaching yourself, not just, like you hit the nail on the head. It could be about exercise, it could be about diet, it could be about, spirituality or motivation or whatever. One of the podcasts that I'm listening to, actually Bennett and I both are listening to it pretty religiously on our journey, and it's called the Model Health Show with Sean Stevenson. I don't know if you've heard of that one, but this guy is like, he breaks down the science behind all this stuff, but he puts it in a way where like people like me can understand it. You know what I mean? Like
I like the sound of that.
Yeah, it is really interesting. Like he goes through and he's got episodes that covers all kinds of stuff, not just, health and fitness, but he talks about, like he's got an episode that talks specifically about sleep and the melatonin receptors in your body. And
yes.
And he talks about different case studies and college experiments that have been done. And there's this one, I'll just tell you this one really quick, I found fascinating. There was this college study. Now, melatonin, what it is, it's your skin. A lot of people forget this, but the skin is actually the largest organ of your body. So it is an organ, and it absorbs everything straight into your bloodstream. So whatever you put on your skin is being absorbed into your body. But your skin has what's called melatonin receptors, so it actually picks up on light, particularly blue light. And so if you go outside, and you hear people say if you get some sunlight, you get vitamin D and all that. Well, that's all being absorbed through the melatonin receptors in your body, and it's the natural time clock that we have. So before we had alarm clocks and all these things that dinged and all this other stuff, our bodies has an internal clock where if it starts to get dark, the melatonin receptors in our body cues our body that it's now dark and it's time to shut down and go to sleep. And then when the sun rises and that sun comes back up, your melatonin receptors pick up the fact that there's daylight and tells our body that it's time to wake up. And so that's really, in the olden days, that's how it worked. But now we've got artificial light, so we basically can work 24 hours a day and all this other fun stuff. So we've kind of lost our primal sense for melatonin receptors in our body. Yeah, we've kind of
screwed it up.
Yeah. And so this college study, they did they had a blue light, like a flashlight, that they taped to like the leg of somebody. I think like the calf or maybe the thigh or something. And it was underneath the cover. So the person that was doing the experiment that was sleeping, they couldn't visibly see the light, but the light was on the skin. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the other subset of the experiment, the individuals were sleeping in complete pitch blackness. And it was like several people were tested in both categories, and they found that the people that actually had the light on their skin, even though it wasn't visible, the body was picking up that blue light, and the melatonin receptors it was basically sending messages back to the brain that it wasn't time to shut down and go to sleep yet. And so the people that were exposed to light actually had poor quality of sleep, and they didn't enter the REM state, which is the rapid eye movement, deep sleep that your body uses to rejuvenate itself. It's just a fascinating stuff. So
the integumentary system in the way it relates to the nervous system is pretty extraordinary.
Yeah. So again, that podcast is called The Model Health Show. It's with Sean Stevenson. Very incredible. Any episode I've listened to, it's been just awesome stuff. So that's where I've learned a lot of, because I don't know, I've always been the kind of I'll do what you say, you tell me to do something, I'll do it. But if I can understand the why behind it, then it just, reinforces everything that I'm doing.
Oh my gosh, you'd be a personal trainer's dream then. We just explain and you just do it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. All right, awesome. So thank you for those 10 tips. And by the way, folks, yes, this will all be in the show notes page for this episode. So if you're driving right now, don't try to capture all this. It'll all be available in the show notes for you. So let me ask you this. I don't know. I have my opinion, but I don't know the answer, so we'll see what you say. Would you say that there are more men or more women seeking personal coaching?
Oh, women for sure.
Okay. And why do you think that? Do you think it's because, like you said, that whole men persona, like I can't ask for help, I should already be in control or in charge of this, or what do you think? Why do you think that is?
Women are just more comfortable with reaching out for saying, I don't know, or I can't. It seems to be easier for women to do that. Now, being a female trainer, it might be because I'm also a female, so it might make it a little bit easier for them. But definitely females have an easier time than males. When I have male clients or anything like that, it's almost like I don't know how to use that,
Right.
So women are very upfront about it. I have no idea. Just show me what to do and I'll do it. So they're far more likely to reach out before it gets to the point where their health is at risk.
Here's one that just baffles my mind. I just can't wrap my head around it. But it doesn't. You can watch any TV anywhere, or go on social media, or YouTube. They got those little commercials on YouTube or wherever. wherever you consume material, and it won't be long before you see, an advertisement for some kind of quick, fast exercise gimmick, like the 5-minute abs or the 2-minute glutes or the, and they make you believe that really all you need is 5 minutes a day, and voila, you can just walk out with this, beach body and all this. So I don't quite understand those gimmicks. I don't believe they work, but why do people, do you think, fall into those traps?
Because they're lazy. They're not sure what to do, and it's bullshit. What you see when you see that stuff, it's just crap. So it's not a sustainable change. Number one, it's not the component of, it's the hard work that no one wants to do, to recognize the fact that you can undo everything you do in a workout when you step into your kitchen. So they'd rather say, well, I did my 2-minute glutes. I think that's one example you used. I did my 2-minute glutes, so I should be good for the day, and that's not the solution. That's not that path. You're going to undo everything that you've done in those 2 minutes pretty quick, basically.
Right.
It's the first thing you grab to drink out of the fridge, basically. But no, it's junk. And no dieting, none of the crazy diets that you see advertised. No, just eat clean. There's no big crazy thing you've got to do. There's nothing you've got to fully eliminate. Just eat clean. Go for those clean options, the things that expire. Shop the perimeter of the store and not with the processed crap.
Right.
And stop driving through the drive-thru. Stop with the easy stuff. Stop with the 5-minute abs.
I like how you said things that expire. Like, have you ever in your life seen a moldy French fry?
No, and it disgusts me to even think about.
Right? I mean, you can like find a French fry underneath your seat of your car that's been there for 5 years, and it won't be an ounce of mold on that thing, right? So it's scary that we're putting things into our mouth that mold's not even like, you know what I mean? Gonna touch.
Yeah, it's unnatural. It's
unnatural. Yep.
Eat some stuff that comes from the earth,
That's right. Yep. Very cool. So we're out of time already, but I do want to spend a couple of minutes talking about DanaRWellness.com. You are in fact a personal trainer. What kind of services do you provide for those out there listening to the show that are perhaps looking for a personal coach and think, man, I kind of dig this chick. Like maybe I can look her up and see if she's available to kind of help me out. What do you do?
I have a lot of options out there. I have very basic things like, just doing a virtual personal training. If you're not, local to me or something like that, I've done virtual personal training with Zoom, with videos. We can see each other and I can kind of yell at you that way. It is what it is. I'm not a Zen person. So, but I also have things that are more extensive, like weight management consultation packages, where we really look at the full picture. We look at those stressors, we look at your sleep, we look at all those different things. We make some changes to your lifestyle and your diet, not just, your workouts. But, I also, there's some people that just want to talk to me about what can I do at home? I just need a program and I need to be able to do it at home. I need to squeeze it in during nap time, or I need to squeeze in 30 minutes before I get ready for work. I have all of those things available. Also, even goal setting and time management. I mean, it's kind of the broad spectrum. It's basically whatever you want in the package menu. There's something there for almost anybody.
That's very cool. Talk to me real quick about your challenge moves.
Oh, the challenge moves. Just basically little things like, oh gosh, if you're bored, pick out a challenge move, and there's a link to some different things. I think Under the Fence is on there right now. And that just is, it's a total suck fest, but it's kind of fun to try something out that's a little bit different, that you in the back of your mind, you keep saying, I can't do it. And maybe you accidentally do it, and so you've got to always be working forward to be the best you that you can be. And many times that means getting really uncomfortable. So challenge moves are just kind of like those little things to throw out there and say, come on, if I'm going to try it and I'm going to make a fool out of myself sometimes, you can do it too.
That's right. Absolutely right. Yeah, we're doing our 60-day WellFit challenge right now. And the reason why this caught my eye is because every week during the 60 days, all of us have to execute a challenge. And there's 12 challenges. And we each, every week we get on our con call and we talk to each other on Google Hangouts. And
Nice.
we roll the dice, and whatever the number lands on, that's the challenge that you've got to do for the week. And if it's a challenge you've already done before, you roll again, right? So,
Nice.
and it's really about getting out of your comfort zone, doing something different. Like one guy in our group, he went fishing up in the Yukon, up in Alaska, on the Yukon River. And before he left, we had our first con call. And we created a challenge specific to him because he was going to be, up there. And so he had to actually completely submerge himself in the Yukon River at least twice during his week up there fishing. Ooh. And he did it. And he captured the video of it, and he came back. And he said that absolutely sucked. And I'm so glad I did it, right? And we asked him, it's like, after a week in the Yukon of living in, this awesome cabin with a jacuzzi and fishing and all this, what's the one thing that sticks out in your mind the most? And he says, it was the polar plunge. That's what we called it, the polar plunge. He goes, it was the polar plunge that I had to take in the river that stuck out in our mind, and it built that memory and that relationship with his wife. He was with his wife. And I'm like, yeah, man. And I asked him, I said, would that have been something that you would have done if you weren't given that challenge to do it? And he goes, oh, absolutely not. And so it just goes to show you that sometimes you need, somebody. It could be an accountability partner. It could be your personal coach. It could be anybody in your life that just has to. I mean, that's why that Ice Bucket Challenge blew up, right? Is because it gave people permission to do something crazy. To do something they wouldn't otherwise have done. And sometimes in life, that's all we need is to give ourselves permission. We need to give ourselves permission to succeed as much as fail, right? We need to give ourselves permission to ask for help when we need it and to be there for someone that needs us. And it's just, but sometimes it's hard to grant ourselves the permission that we need to give ourselves. Oftentimes I see women are providers, or mothers, they're wives, they're sisters, and they're very, very much taking care of other people. And sometimes the one person they forget to take care of is themselves, right?
Oh, absolutely. Because we put ourselves on the back burner.
Right.
We make sure everybody else is taken care of first. But the thing is you're not setting the example when you do that. Mm-hmm. You need to show that you're making it a priority. You're making your health and your wellness a priority. And change only happens when you step outside that comfort zone.
That's right.
But your kids notice,
mm-hmm.
your family, your loved ones, they notice when you do that. And it helps them to stay engaged and see it as normal.
Well, Dana, thanks again so much for coming on the show. I really do appreciate the take two, as it were. Where can people find more about you and connect with you?
They can go on danarwellness.com. They can also email me at coachdanarossignol@gmail.com.
Okay, great. And again, folks, all of the 10 tips as well as all the contact information will be available on the show notes page for this episode by heading over to changeyourpov.com/episode 100. We saved the episode 100 just for you, Dana.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Never miss an episode. Hit subscribe on your podcast player of choice. We have a lot more great content headed your way. Come be a part of our community over at Change Your POV Squad. That's our group page where you can interact with other guests of the show, myself and Bennett, we're over there as well. Or you can check out all the crazy stuff that Bennett and I have going on over at our Facebook page at Change Your POV. All right, folks, thank you. Until next time.
Thanks for listening to Change Your POV podcast with Eddie Lazary. Check out more content by going to changeyourpov.com. And remember, your ability and willingness to change your point of view will open doors of opportunity.